Welcome back to Shimpling Park Farm. Easter seems such a long time ago now, but with all the cereal crops sown and hopefully growing, it's full-on sheep focus this spring. Our ewes, our mummy sheep, give birth outside by themselves, and our magnificent shepherding team check them methodically from dawn till dusk. The vast majority lamb themselves naturally, but the team do intervene when there are problems, which thankfully isn't very often. So that's white number 33. And how long has she been lambing for?
A couple of hours at least.
Nothing.
Maybe 3 hours.
Okay.
We're going to go and check on a ewe that's been lambing for the last couple of hours but produced no lambs yet. So before we lamb her, we're just going to clear her teats to make sure she's got milk and that the lambs will be able to drink once they're up and about.
Okay.
There's one.
I got that full frontal. Okay.
Right, we need to work out which leg is forward.
Right.
It looks like the leg nearest me is forward, so we'll keep her on this side.
Okay.
And you're going to gently pull the hoof from behind the cleats, about there,
Yeah.
with your fingers sort of like that around it.
Yeah.
And gently pull forward and pull the lamb up in the sky. Gently, gently, pull it up, and it will release the other shoulder. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Come on, feel that shoulder pop.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Clear it. Nice. Really firmly, like that. Can you see it's gone yellow, so it's got a little bit of stress. So if you come more towards me,
Okay.
and you'll pull the lamb up and round to the front. Gently and slowly.
By its leg or by
By the leg.
So she'll clear the nostrils, will she?
Yeah, we've cleared them quite well.
Yeah.
And it's taken a break. So we're happy, so we're going to go back into lamb 2.
Okay.
The second lamb had both legs back.
Right.
So both shoulders were obstructing the birth canal. So we leaned in, we picked one leg forward, and then we were able to pop it out again like we did the first.
So ideally, both legs forward, come up with a diving position.
Yes, ideally.
Okay. So the team leave the mum to clean up her lambs and bond gently while they crack on with the lambing sheep checks. Okay.
Ready?
Okay.
They're gonna be fast. See what we can do.
Good luck. Go. Swift work, girls. So you need to see her ear tag, yeah?
Yes.
Little boy?
So we're gonna castrate it by popping a band on.
Okay. And why'd you do that?
To avoid any unwanted pregnancies if they were to mix with the ewe lambs, which they do on this farm.
Okay.
And also it does help them finish a little bit better.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we're going to dock the tail to prevent fly strike risk. Keep their back end nice and clean.
So does this hurt them at all?
For a very brief period of time, but it will soon go numb. And the argument is that if you were to give them pain relief, it does more damage to their liver than benefit to the short-term pain that they'll feel from being run.
So what are the tags?
The tags are so that we can identify every sheep. So if we were to give it medication or anything, we can put it on its own record. 53. Scan his ear tag.
So that is linking that lamb to that ewe. So from now on, the computer record has them. All right, mummy. I'm going to give them back.
This is a 6 kilo. Okay. So we open our trusty weigh bucket.
Okay.
Pop the lamb in a way that it's not going to jump out.
Okay.
And then reveal the answer.
What do you reckon?
6.25 kilos.
Hey, not a bad guess.
Not a bad guess.
What a handsome little fella.
So
well done.
Poppy's going to weigh hers.
Okay. All right, mummy, nearly done. How big, Pops?
5.5.
Beautiful.
A little bit smaller. And then we're going to spray the ewe's number on the side of the lambs.
Okay. So that you can visually from a distance see. Hello, darling.
And we can see that there should be a pair of lambs together with the same number.
Okay.
But it is quite hard to read the ear tag. We're marking them in purple today.
Okay.
We change the colour. We do red, orange, blue, green, purple. Then we start again, so we know roughly how old the lambs are.
Okay.
If we haven't used red for ages, we'll know that's quite an old lamb. It should be able to find its mum fine.
Okay.
And on this lambing team, it is neat numbers only.
It's what?
Neat numbers only.
Yes, no scruffy numbers. Oh, look, here she comes.
It's really important to always release them together.
What happens if not?
She'll probably go off with the one nearest and not realise the other one's still looking for her.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll have to match them back up. So here we can see that this ewe has just had 2 fresh lambs. They're very yellow, they've got red floppy navels.
Yeah.
And then on the right you can see an older lamb that needs tagging. It's probably 24 hours old, stealing the colostrum. And the ewe is allowing it to do so.
Ooh.
She's mothering it as well. So we need to find its mother and return it to its mother so that its own lambs can have a nice drink of colostrum.
Ah, lamb theft.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got to catch that lamb. There you go. Well done, Becky. So we're going to go and give that to the other ones?
Yes. And we're going to check that she likes it.
Right. That was cheeky. You're going to your mum now, all right?
Stealing milk.
It took some time to find Mum with the missing lamb, but in the end they were happily reunited. And Becky and Poppy carried on the strenuous task of checking all the newborn lambs that afternoon. They have a very organised regime of constant check, but they won't ring and tag anything after about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so that the mothers and the lambs are not disturbed, and they're very settled before the evening checks and their early nights together. Very occasionally, if there is something not quite right, the agile team have to bring the ewe and the lambs back to the farm for closer observation. One of these lambs appears to have a crooked knee, which could be causing it pain. Having a limp didn't stop her running, did it? To get them back to the yard, they're going to have to catch the lamb and try and coax the mother into a little trailer. The girls make this look very easy, but it's all a bit of a cunning waiting game. And on the way back, we popped in to see the lambs we helped deliver an hour or so earlier. And they're all up and feeding well. Does look like a bit wobbly knee, doesn't it?
I think the ligaments supporting that joint are just a little bit weak.
Okay.
You can see it's a little bit knuckled over.
Yeah.
And it's just not supporting. So I think with a bit of splinting, take it off and give it a little bit of a stretch every day, put it back on, it should be okay. So we're going to measure him up for his leg. Can't bend it, but obviously it is best if you can keep some movement. So we'll do a figure of 8 bandage so it crosses over the front but not at the back, so it can bend in that direction. Keep it still.
2 days later, this little lamb gained strength, the splint was removed, and they were out back in the wider fields after their little trip to A&E. There are sometimes external problems too.
It's been attacked by a fox. Must have been just shortly before I got to it. I must have disturbed it.
Joe went and caught up the injured lamb's mum and put them back together. The next morning, the lamb was beginning to drink. And in a leap away from the farm, we took a road trip to Scotland. John, where are we and why?
So we're in Ayrshire, and this is where my maternal grandfather came from in the sort of end of the 1890s. But they left this area to go and farm primarily to begin with in Essex, and they were renting farms, and a lot of Essex farmers had stopped farming because the price of corn had dropped after the repeal of the Corn Laws, brought their dairy cattle down, took over these farms that people have abandoned, and they set up a business selling milk into London. My family bought land in Suffolk and Norfolk. Standing here, I'm getting an idea of why they would have moved down to Suffolk, where the opportunities were greater, where as a tenant their tenancy was more protected than it was out here in Scotland.
Farming, like lots of businesses, passes down through families, and fortunes are made by political policy, weather, and the willingness to grab opportunities. These direct descendants, the fabulous Davidson family, are still in the same house, farming brilliantly among really quite hard weather conditions. And back to work, it's visit time. Early dawn bird listening walks. We're trying to run these every spring as it's a really fun thing to practice identifying your birds. And then lots of farmers' visits, sharing information in a really positive way. I've said this before, but it's a new thing. I'm not sure that farmers were so open in the past. Conventional chemical farmers were certainly not interested in what organic farmers did, but now the conversation is good and everyone's sharing everything, warts and all. And some magnificent May evenings with visitors who are not farmers. New friends were made, and connecting with non-farmers, i.e. people who eat what we grow, is really rewarding. We'll definitely be running these again. Right, do you want to put and of course lots of school children came to the farm, exploring everything. The scouts certainly seemed to enjoy the combine trials. John even went to Wales to share farming thoughts with the Glamorgan Royal Welsh Regen 23.
People say, is an organic farming regenerative? I mean, it has to be by default, otherwise it will fall on its hands and knees.
Today they're shearing the rams on the farm. It's suddenly got slightly warmer. They've got a big old furry coat on them, and because of the richness of the grass, they can be getting quite pooey bottoms. Haircut time. How heavy are they, do you think, Joe?
Probably 120 kilos.
Right, what are your trousers made of?
So they're denim trousers, but they're double thickness on the front.
Right.
So the lanolin from the sheep, as it rubs on your legs, makes your legs sore after a little while. So the double denim stops the lanolin.
Is it not natural moisturiser?
I think it is, yeah, but not in little quantities.
Poppy's picking up the wool as it's shorn off the ram. With a ewe, you can steady the beast between your legs. But the rams are too strong and big, and you'd risk being tossed out of the shed if they decide to jump up. But she's going to pull out all the pooey bits, because obviously that can't go off for good wool. But rather than composting it, I'm going to try and put it around the agroforestry trees and see if it helps keep the deer away. I know you feel a bit bald, but you'll feel better later. And of course, the most famous organic farmer was crowned our new king this spring. Converting his farm in the 1980s, he was a man shouting about the need for sustainable methods of farming long before it was fashionable to care about the environment. Mid-May, having completed the shearing of the rams, Joe and Sam were on a mission to get all the ewes shorn to prevent the fly strike in this now coming hot weather. Shearing lunch. And spring is showtime in Suffolk, and we're really lucky to have some extraordinary traditional agricultural shows from the South Suffolk to the Hadley to the County Show in Ipswich. So worth a visit, if only for the Grand Parade, as it's called. Over on the arable side of the farm, Sam is busy trying to plant some of our exotic crops and struggling with the extremes of the weather. What are you looking for?
Lentils.
Is that what you're planting?
Yeah, lentils and camelina. So we're drilling the lentils, there you go, there's two there. We're drilling lentils as our cash crop, and then the camelina is there to hopefully hold the lentils up.
Yeah, it's not nearly as tidy as it was in here.
No.
Why have you let it get so messy?
Been too busy to clean it. I've got a new tractor coming, so...
Oh, so you've lost interest in this one?
Yeah, I'm kind of just waiting for my new one now.
Seeing as it was so incredibly wet and now it's so incredibly dry.
change so quickly.
Is it harder to drill when it's dry?
So you ideally want to put the seed onto moisture, but it becomes to the stage where you're going deeper and deeper with the seed. But it's getting too deep, so you have to give up on putting it on moisture and then put it back to the ideal depth and wait for rain.
And it's nearly the end of May, and these beans are flowering away. They nearly got hit by the dreaded chocolate spot, but this dry weather has knocked that on the head, thankfully. As part of our farm is on an old American bomb base from World War II, we've started an annual tradition of reading out the names of all the 233 men that died flying from this site. And Poppy had her final graduation exam and has secured a full general farming apprenticeship where she'll be paid to carry on her learning. A good way to get into farming. And Joe is still hard at it with the shearing. We were grateful in the heat to have a bit of help from the Year 6 pupils of Lawshall Primary School with winding up the wool. Is it called a bale of wool?
It's a sheet.
A sheet?
A sheet.
A sheet?
Yeah.
S-H-E-E-T?
E-E-T, yeah.
A sheet of wool?
A wool sheet. I think in New Zealand and Australia they're bales because they press them into squares.
Okay. And finally, everyone was shorn, ready for the summer. After a late spring, where all the flowers were out at the same time, we've reached the end of June. The crops are ripening well, and we seem to have grown the tallest crop of heritage wheat I've ever seen. Our friend here is 6'8", and it comes above his head. We are in this tiny window of calm before harvest when all hell breaks loose. But before harvest starts, there's the magnificent event called Groundswell, which took place again. It celebrates not necessarily organic methods, but certainly methods that reduce chemical inputs and soil damage. It's a really great event, especially when the amazing Andy Cato, international DJ from Groove Armada, turned really wonderful, innovative farmer, indulges in his old habits. Thank you for joining us, and see you on the other side.